Hey sassy friends, Sandra here and welcome to my channel. Long time no see guys. I'm going to be using this stamp set from the Sassy Club called Be Mine for this tutorial, and I'm going to be using that stamp set right there in the corner, or that individual stamp shall I say. If you don't have a stamp, no worry, because you can also do a version of this without a stamp, which I will also show after I do this one. But for this fun one, I thought it would be really cool to show you how to use a stamp that you have in your stash or one of your Sassy Club stamps to create this awesome little clip, because I just thought it was adorable, and I did show it on my Instagram, and some of you guys asked if I could do a tutorial on it, so I said what the heck, I'm going to do a tutorial for you guys so you can see how I created it. So I went ahead and stamped two of the images, and I'm coloring one in because I'm going to use the background of one of them and then the frame of the other to create that sort of dimensional look, and you'll get what I mean as I cut it out and I color it in. And I'm just using my Tombow markers to do this, and the reason I decided to use those versus my Copic markers is because since I used archival ink, that's not really the ink you're supposed to use with it, so I just kind of wanted to make sure I didn't mess up my markers, and these will work perfectly with your archival ink, so I figured I would go for it. So I'm just coloring this in, keeping it pretty simple for the most part. Then I'm going to go in and color the frame, and I'm just using two different colors of yellow, and the second color is just going to be to add a little bit of dimension to this project, and I really love the way that this is looking already. I just think it looks so cute, and you could also even make your own sticker for your planner that's just a dimensional sticker using the same sort of technique, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a shaker clip. You can also make a shaker sticker or even just a regular sticker to put inside your planner. This is just a fun thing to do in general, and I'm just fussy cutting this using a very sharp pair of scissors, so I recommend that you have a small tiny pair of scissors that's dedicated for cutting paper, and only paper, so it doesn't get dull, because this makes it really easy to do this type of cutting. Honestly, this took me like no time to do, so I would highly recommend you do it, and this is just really fun thing to do. For this second one that I'm only going to be using the background, I'm just simply cutting around the frame, but making sure that I leave some space, because you're going to see I'm going to need that extra space for where I'm going to be using some tape. So right now I'm cutting the inside image out by I first made a little hole in the very middle, and then I created a little X, and then I'm going to carefully cut around it. You could also use an X-Acto knife, but me and X-Acto knives do not have a good history, so I decided to keep it more safe for me just by using my scissor, and it's just, to me, quite as easy to do it this way as well, so it's really up to preference. So I'm just cutting it out, and it's not super perfect, but it's pretty good. And honestly, what I just do after that is any little white bits that you see, I go in with a black marker, and I just go in and touch up those little white bits with a little bit of black, being careful not to leave any black on the yellow parts, because that just gives it a nice clean finish. And then I have this plastic packaging that I had left over in my stash, so I decided to use that. But you could also buy acetate if you don't have any packaging, but I thought this was a really green way of, you know, just using what I have in my stash. I usually always save my plastic packaging so I can do this kind of stuff and cut it up and turn it into shaker clips and shaker pockets and all kinds of things, so I really like to use this technique to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that piece down. I'm going to use my Tombow adhesive. I love this adhesive because it's very trusty and always glues things down well, and I like that it has a fine tip because you don't need very much and it works really well. So I'm just adding it around the borders, and then I'm going to put down that little piece of plastic, making sure that it, you know, fits and nothing's coming out or anything like that. And then I'm going to set that to the side so that it can dry, and we can work on the rest of our little shaker clip here. So for this next part, I'm taking out my foam tape, and I will have links to all the things that I use in my videos in the description box below in case you're wondering, anything that's available anyway. And I'm just cutting it into thin strips because I want to make sure that it does not protrude so that you don't see it against the top of the frame. And that's why for this particular shaker, you need to have a stamp where you have enough of a border to do this, because if you don't, then there's no place to really put that foam tape, if you know what I mean. So I'm using this foam to create a full box around this little image so that you can see. You don't want to have any holes or any areas that are open, because this is what's going to basically house all your sequins, all your glitter, anything you decide to put in there. So you want to make sure that it's fully covered and there's no gaps in between, because that could lead to a very messy clip. So that's what I'm doing right there, making sure that it all lines up. And once I'm happy with it, I'm just taking off the little adhesive tabs that are over the top. Now you could do this after you put in the sequins, but I decided just for the sake of experimentation to just take it off beforehand, because it is a little bit difficult to take this off once you have the sequins in there, because you really don't want to be moving this around much. And now here's my lovely glitter stash. Glitter, gotta love it! I'm obsessed, but it's just so fun to have different ones to mix in there, and as you can tell, I just was going back and forth with what I wanted to put in there. I put some little glitter. That little small packet I actually got from the Dollar Tree, so you can find glitter at the Dollar Tree as well. I'm adding some micro marbles, some small hexagons, all kinds of good stuff, but making sure that I'm not overfilling it either. I decided to add a little extra glue over the top edge of that because I did move this around and end up getting some of it on the edge of that foam, so just something to be very careful with. Using the end of your scissors and a pair of tweezers really helps to keep this in place so that you don't have any mess ups or move it too much. So now that we have that ready, now all we have to do is add the paper clip in the back and glue that down. So I'm going to use some hot glue for this, and I like this hot glue gun I have because it has a fine tip, because I find that a lot of glue guns without the fine tip really make a mess. So that's just a tip for anyone who's had issues with glue guns. I'm obsessed with this glue gun that I have now. If I can find it online, I will link it in the description box. Now I decided I wanted to be a little fancy and add something to the back of my paper clip, and there's so many ways that you could do this, and just like it's mind-boggling. So don't think that this is the only way to do this. I just decided to kind of do something simple, so I grabbed my felt and I decided I was going to cut out a square. I also stamped that image again so that I could use the frame again in the back, and I decided to just glue that down using my hot glue gun just so that it has more of a finished look in the back. But really, you don't really need to do this. I just did this because I just thought it would be fun to do it, because in reality no one's really going to see the back of your paper clips for the most part. But if you want to just add a little extra something, then go for it, and you can add all kinds of things. Again, I did something very simple. There's a lot of other things that you could do to do this. So I added that felt heart that I cut out, as well as that little heart, as well as that little square of felt. And I picked up this felt, I believe, at my local craft store, but I've had it in my stash for a while. And then I added some glue all around the edges, and then I'm taking that same frame that I cut and I'm just adding it around the edge because I just think that would look cute. And it's just kind of very simple, as I said, but pretty cute. And I did line the edges in black in the back so that it would be harder to see when you flip it around, and I should have probably done the other side, hindsight, but you know, my error is your learning experience. So this is a version I'm doing without any stamp. What I went ahead and did is cut out some circles. You can do this using little shapes of circles that you might have lying around your house, like a cup or a bowl or even a perfume bottle. I did this using my paper punch, but if you don't have a paper punch, like I said, you can use shapes, and this is what I used to do all the time. I'm not repeating all the steps that I did before because I'm basically following the exact same steps that I did for the first clip, adding the little piece of plastic, adding the foam tape. So this is like the same version, but it's just done without a stamp as the main piece to it. I am using a stamp to actually stamp inside of it because I thought that would be cute to have an image inside the circle, and that's from my Sassy Life stamp set, which can be found at TheSassyClub.com, in case you're wondering if you guys want to check out my website. And for those of you who follow me on the regular or follow my Instagram, you guys know that release day is just around the corner for April, and soon we will have unicorns galore. So if you don't want to miss out on some limited edition kits that I'm doing and stamps, you're going to want to follow me on my other social media sites. And now the Sassy Club is on Twitter, and I will have the handle in the description box below as well, because I give up-to-date stuff on there all the time and announce things as well. So I did add some more sequins in here. Again, I'm following the same steps, and I colored my little macaroon with my Copic markers, but again, I don't recommend you use archival and Copics because it could really mess up your markers. So just something to keep in mind. And then I'm adding a bunch of different little sequins, and the blue ones that I added were actually from the Dollar Tree as well. So don't think that you can only get sequins in one place if maybe you're in a limited budget and you want to create something similar to this. And if you guys enjoy this video, be sure and let me know what other ideas of things you'd want to see, or if you want to see even different types of shaker clips as well, because I really enjoyed making this. So again, I'm attaching this from the back to the front, so I made sure to try to line it up as best as possible so you can see that little macaroon through the little window. And I think this looks so cute. And I could have done this with patterned paper, scrapbook paper, But I just decided to use white for the sake of the tutorial, and I thought I would just color in the paper with my Copic markers and just do 2 different shades of pink because I thought that would look really cute and just wanted to keep it more on the simple side. And as you can see, it's looking pretty cute, and I like the amount of sequins I put in there because had I put any more, you might not see that macaroon very well. Again, I'm just edging this with a marker, and I'm really just playing around with the colors and seeing what I like and what I don't like. And I do decide to add a little bit more detail, but like I said, this is limited to your imagination. You could create so many different variations of the shaker clip, including a flower shape, a heart shape, so don't be limited, and be sure and tag me via Instagram if you decide to do this tutorial. And then I'm just adding a glitter heart. And you can never have enough glitter hearts if you ask me. Can I get an amen? And then I just added a little felt heart because I thought it would give it a little pizzazz, and I just want to use that word. You know, it's just fun to say the word pizzazz. Anyway, I'm just adding the clip and adding some glue again, following the same steps, and then I just decided I'd keep it simple and just added some more hot glue to the back and decided I'd just put kind of like a little felt circle. And since I was kind of lazy, I just decided to cut around to do the felt circle. I could have maybe cut that out into a circle beforehand, but I was just like, YOLO. And make sure you have a good scissors for cutting felt because you don't want to mess up your paper scissors, and a lot of scissors actually don't cut well through felt, so it's kind of like cutting through a fabric pretty much. It's kind of just a little tough for most scissors. That's why I'm using my tonic scissors. And now we are done with our clips, you guys, and look how cute they are. I love them. If you guys love them too, be sure and click that thumbs up and like this video and share it with your friends, you guys, because I really appreciate all the social media shares. And be sure and subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't already, so you don't miss all the awesomeness that we have going on. And thank you guys so much for joining me for another video. I will see you guys again soon. Bye!